Welcome to the Get Over Yourself podcast. This is author and athlete Brad Kearns discovering ways to be healthy, fit, and happy in hectic, high-stress modern life. So let's slow down and take a deep breath, take a cold plunge, and expertly balance that competitive intensity with an appreciation of the journey. That's the theme of the show. Here we go. The Get Over Yourself podcast is brought to you by Almost Heaven, beautiful compact home use sauna kits, ancestral supplements, grass-fed organ meats in a capsule, DNA Fit, genetic testing for custom diet and exercise recommendations, Integro Health, high-potency liquid probiotic called Flourish, Organifi, organic powdered superfoods, delicious green, gold, and red powders, Wild Idea Buffalo, sustainable, grass-fed, beyond organic, real ketones, clean burning ketones for athletic performance and fat loss. And check out the bradkearns.com/shop page. That's my personal selection of favorite products for health, fitness, and peak performance. And here we go with the show.
In Germany, they have a rule where you might get a smart meter, but if it's broken off, you take your baseball bat and you just knock that thing right off. They come back and replace. You do it again. They come back one more time, and you do it again. And the third time, they'll just put the analog back in.
And that's that. Let's call up and record when we call customer service at the local utility district, and they'll say, yeah, it's fine. And that's the part that gets me lit up over the course of my life, realizing how much I trusted conventional wisdom and the trusted sources of authority to keep us healthy and all those things. And now they've turned out to be disastrously wrong. I think most people dismiss it because they're too busy and there's too many other things to worry about in daily life. And the insight that some people are more sensitive than others is highly accurate. But my concern is that if we keep piling these on, so we have risk factor here with the smart meter, risk factor with the light bulbs, risk factor with the crappy food we're eating, risk factor with the lack of sleep, risk factor with you're exercising too much, and then it starts to pile up, and then you're rolling the dice with your health and your future diagnosis of cancer, macular degeneration, cognitive decline, now being tied strongly to excess sugar consumption and things like that. I feel like, putting the odds in my favor and making painless sacrifices. You're not asking us to overhaul our lives. You're saying, hey, put some orange lenses on or try to get your screen use done in the early hours of the night. It seems fair to ask everyone to be more aware of this.
This is Brad to talk about my favorite performance supplement, Real Ketones, makers of the most scientifically advanced, heavily researched supplemental ketone product in the world. Yes, you can now drink ketones, the same stuff that your liver makes from devoted ketogenic eating. Quickly get into ketosis and promote your athletic, weight loss, cognitive performance, and disease protection goals. I am calling this the greatest breakthrough in performance nutrition in decades. Ketones are a superior, cleaner burning fuel source than glucose. All those powdered, sugary gels and blocks we've been drinking, glucose produces 45 times more free radicals than ketones. So when you drink ketones, like I do before, during, and after workouts, I turbocharge fat burning, generate less inflammation, especially in the highly sensitive brain cells, which is why you feel fried the day after a tough workout. Less cellular destruction, less muscle soreness, faster recovery. Try Real Ketones' brand new product, Prime D+, a unique formula that combines the high-potency BHB salts with MCT oil to quickly get your body into sustained ketosis with no crash effect because MCT helps boost internal fat and ketone production. Go to bradkearns.com/shop, click the link and get 10% off forever. Learn more at realketones.com. Breather Show, starting out with Beyonce. And transitioning into my discussion with guest Tania Teschke. The title of that Beyonce song is Ring the Alarm, and that's kind of what Tania's doing, because she's an extreme health enthusiast investigating all the potential dangers that abound in modern society. And I know that a lot of us like to discount these or rationalize, but I think it's really important to listen and reflect and do the best you can to mitigate these dangers. Some of them we don't even know that much about because they haven't been around for a while, like our constant exposure to these screens that emit blue light on the UV spectrum and disturb our hormones, our mitochondrial function, and especially our sleep cycles. So after we finished the formal recording, we got into it a little bit. Thankfully, I pushed the red button again, and Tania started to talk about the dangers of the LED light bulbs, which have taken over for the traditional ones, the old-time tungsten light bulbs, which were far less offensive to our circadian rhythms. So something to think about, maybe going retro. I know they still sell them. I looked on Home Depot after this show. Then she was talking about the smart meter, which she says is a disaster. That's the municipal utility meters that we all have on our homes, monitoring your usage of energy. And the smart meter is something that emits a constant dose of radiation into your living situation. Hopefully your bedroom is nowhere near the meter, and do the best you can to do things like unplug your Wi-Fi in the evenings, keep the devices away from your head because the exposure is exponential when it gets close to you. Disturbing stuff. Obviously, some people more sensitive than others, but it's a concern for all of us, especially since we don't know the long-term repercussions. And going on from there, she talks about the toxic exposure to sensationalist media and how it can put us in a bad mood and increase our stress levels. So a short tidbit show about being aware of some of the health disturbances around you and doing the best you can. More from Tania Teschke. Okay, so Tanya's got me freaked out about the smart meter and then the LED light bulbs. And so the LED, this is now touted as the best new fancy light, but what's going on below visible perception is this constant flickering that's messing with the brain without us even knowing it.
It's flickering, same also with fluorescent lights, which is more of a green cast. And I remember doing homework with my fluorescent light, things shining on and having sleep problems. And now, I look back and I think, I think there was a connection. But the tungsten light bulbs from, that they're being phased out, those
the completely round, like the
orange glow
light bulb on the cartoon instead of the swirly ice cream cone.
That's right.
The tungsten.
Those are what we want to bring back, if at all possible. They last a long time, and it's not. They want people to buy more light bulbs more frequently. But this and it might takes
energy
up a little
efficient too, right?
And,
so the new ones are energy efficient.
That's right.
The tungsten ones, even though there's a frosty white covering inside, is that orange glow that's illuminating, and that's far less offensive to our circadian rhythm than the blue light spectrum of the LED, the fluorescent, and the new bulbs.
Well, if you think of, a 100-watt bulb would be the same amount of light as 100 candles. We used to have candles. And the watts, you could kind of equate that to number of candles. It's really the candlelight, the orange glow that or from the fire or a candle or a torch, in medieval times that we sort of evolved with. And these LEDs are this very, the noon light, this blue light that we're experiencing at all hours of the day, not just at noon. You see them on bike lights, they're on automobile headlights, just everywhere. Flashlights. I mean, it's really hard to get away from, but you can buy online now, they're called turtle lights, the red, orangey
lava
lights.
lamp, right? Emitting the orange spectrum.
Or the Himalayan salt lamps.
Salt lamp, I mean, sorry,
really
not lava
great.
lamp, the salt lamp. Yeah.
So those things, and the other thing is we're not just ruining our own eyes, and rhythms. It's what about the birds outside who have the street lights all night long? And a lot of these street lights are going from orange to blue as they are replaced. This is in Europe as well. So that's definitely something to, think about. And then the smart meter.
Oof.
Boy, that's.
So this is the meter on the side of your house. If you're not familiar with that term, we all have those meters that the utility company is monitoring our usage. And they've recently converted in the past decade to these things called smart meters?
Yeah, since about 2009, as a part of Obama's kind of re-injecting the economy, was this sort of electricity energy savings plan package where there was a bunch of money put aside for the electricity companies to revamp the system and get everyone on this smart grid. So they were really gung-ho, and they had to install these smart meters everywhere in order to, I think, qualify for the program and get this injection of cash from the government. And I may have my story wrong, but this is what I've been sort of learning about. And anyway, so, you can't really point the finger at anyone to say, well, this is a terrible move, but we have to understand that this is, it's radiation. And even though they say it's only on for 4 to 6 seconds a day.
The smart meter?
Yeah.
That's it?
It might only be, but actually it flickers. Again, we have this flickering issue of between 10,000 and 100,000 times a day in millisecond form. So it's basically like you have your microwave on all day long. And if your bed is near, or your head or your office is near the smart meter, you're getting, it's again, just like cell phones, it's a matter of distance. And if you can distance yourself, you have exponentially less exposure. Mm-hmm. However, children are more susceptible, for example, and
developing brains.
Yeah.
So the wall notwithstanding, so if your bed is right next to the wall of the smart meter, you're screwed. Move the bed. Well, they have now smart meter covers. Or if you haven't had one installed yet, you can put special bars over your original analog meter so that they actually have to come and face you and say, we'd like to replace your, and then you can hopefully voice your opinion and say, no, thank you, I do not want this. It's funny, in Germany, they have a rule where you might get a smart meter, but if it's broken off, you take your baseball bat and you just knock that thing right off. They come back, replace. You do it again. They come back one more time, and you do it again. And the third time, they'll just put the analog back in. And that's that.
And for Switzerland, I just heard or read recently that by the end of this year, they want to have installed smart meters in all private homes. And Oof. I can't tell you how distressing it is really for me to know these kinds of things, because our children's sleep is already sometimes disrupted, and sometimes I wonder if it's not the breaker, the fuse box that's below their bedroom. You got to just be aware and learn about these things and do what you can to protect from really what amounts to a radiation, unfortunately.
This is the electromagnetic radiation, just like the microwave. Is it the same as the router? But the smart meter is more intense like at the level?
Wi-Fi. That's a good question. And that's something that I don't know. The Wi-Fi is a very strong signal. And you should turn that off at night at the very least, or when you're not using it. The smart meters, it's this constant low frequency pulse, which, as it turns out, makes, for example, parasites more virulent, because it's vibrating at frequencies that makes them angry. Let's just say, and for our own cells, we didn't evolve with these frequencies. So we are getting with the smart meters, for example, 10,000 to 100,000 times a day, kind of rattled with a message frequency that we don't know really what to do with. Our mitochondria don't know what to do with in our cells. And so it's very disruptive, as you can imagine. So, and some people are more susceptible than others, and children are definitely, they being made of more water than when they're small, they have more water content. In water, what do you do in the microwave? You're heating up the water molecules when you put something in the microwave. You can't put in metal because it'll create fireworks in there. But anyway, it's just something to keep in mind.
And so with the light bulb scene, can we switch out to orange bulbs and wear the UV protective lenses, yellow or orange color, so we can see plenty well? Like Ollie G, check it on his videos. We just saw some of those with his yellow lenses. He was an early adopter.
That's right.
Is that going to provide a measure of help against the negative aspects?
I would say wearing blue light blocking glasses definitely helps.
That's anything with a UV rating. Like most sunglasses will have that, unless they're fake from the beach vendor for $5 and it has a UV sticker on there. Probably not, but the good lenses are treated with UV protection. So you can get, like at the home supply store, you can get safety goggles that are yellow, but have UV protection.
Yeah, the UV issue, I'm actually not sure about, but it's that color. You may be right, but for sure
the experts are saying,
okay,
if it has UV protection, then it's doing its job for the blue light spectrum.
Yeah, that could very
the indoor
well be.
light.
Yeah.
So,
well, and I think the best measure is to try to, restrict your screen time once the sun goes down.
Oh, that too.
Yeah. And just, go to bed when it's dark. Though in a place, for example, like Moscow, where we lived for a while, it's probably too many years, they didn't go on the daylight savings time. And, if the sun goes down at 4 p.m., it doesn't rise until 9 a.m., you've got to get to work, and there's no way to live in a place like that without artificial light. So there are definitely limitations to living in certain latitudes, but you do what you can. Really, that's just be aware and protect. Some people wear protective clothing in front of their screens, or they'll sleep under what's called a Faraday cage, which is basically like a mosquito net, which will keep out some of the frequencies. But everyone has their hacks, but it's definitely something to think about.
I think most people dismiss it because they're too busy, and there's too many other things to worry about in daily life. And the insight that some people are more sensitive than others is highly accurate. But my concern is that if we keep piling these on, so we have risk factor here with the smart meter, risk factor with the light bulbs, risk factor with the crappy food we're eating, risk factor with the lack of sleep, risk factor with your exercising too much, and then it starts to pile up, and then you're rolling the dice with your health and your future diagnosis of cancer, macular degeneration, cognitive decline, now being tied strongly to excess sugar consumption and things like that. I feel like, putting the odds in my favor and making painless sacrifices. You're not asking us to overhaul our lives. You're saying, hey, put some orange lenses on, or try to get your screen use done in the early hours of the night. It seems fair to ask everyone to be more aware of this.
Yeah. There are little things you can do, at least to mitigate some of the potential damage. And I think it starts just with, being curious about it, motivated to change, and just aware. So keep
keep your feelers out and keep listening, and rather than being sort of duped and allowing the media to steer your thoughts. I know with all of the things in the media with Trump, it's very distracting.
Who?
For example.
How's he going over in Switzerland? This is not a political show, but I wonder how he's embraced there.
Well,
when's his next trip there?
That I don't know. But they just kind of carry on and hope for the best. But I think people are very easily distracted. We get that dopamine hit when we see something in the news that sort of piques our interest, or, on our social media. But I think if we could just make a little effort to turn away from the directions that the media and other, celebrities or people are trying to turn us, and look at the story that's not being told, that's not being focused on, I think we can have better, more sound judgment and not be kind of carried down this stream of distraction and of continued unawareness of the real things that are affecting our lives. Like, who's talking about smart meters? It's just a fringe.
Let's call up and record when we call customer service at the local utility district, and they'll say, yeah, it's fine. And that's the part that, gets me lit up over the course of my life, realizing how much I trusted conventional wisdom and the trusted sources of authority to keep us healthy and all those things. And now they've turned out to be disastrously wrong. And, we were eating margarine when I was a small child instead of butter, because my dad was a very thoughtful, well-meaning, health-conscious physician up on all the research, reading the magazines before his time. I mean, he quit smoking in 1964 when the Surgeon General said, oh, smoking's bad for you. He goes, oh, and he quit, right? And so we switched to margarine. We tried to lower our fat because we were a healthy eating family and all these things. And I bought into the prevailing mode of athletic training at the time, where you try to get more and more miles in as a runner so you can go faster. Right. And it turned into a disastrous, dismal failure. And then you wake up and go, wow, I'm a little lit up that I trusted these authorities and they led me down the wrong path. And then I guess I better take responsibility for my health and my choices and all these things. And then you take a few baby steps in that direction where you care, like Tania Teschke.
Oh, thanks, Brad.
Thanks for giving us this little, we call it a breather show, so we can take a deep breath, watch out for wayward presidents, electromagnetic fields, and light spectrums, all three of those and more. Thank you for listening.
Thanks.
Thank you for listening to the show. We would love your feedback at getoveryourselfpodcast@gmail.com. And we would also love if you could leave a rating and a review on iTunes or wherever you listen to podcasts. I know it's a hassle. You have to go to desktop iTunes, click on the tab that says ratings and reviews, and then click to rate the show anywhere from 5 to 5 stars. And it really helps spread the word so more people can find the show and get over themselves, because they need to. Thanks for doing it. I want to enthusiastically recommend DNA Fit, cutting-edge genetic testing to deliver a personal profile that will guide your fitness and nutrition goals. So simple, you spit in a tube, mail it off, and soon you get by email the super cool infographic where it delivers all these important insights and elements of your genetic profile at a glance. How you metabolize carbs, caffeine, vitamin D, lactose, and much more. My exercise profile was mind-blowing because it revealed my genetic muscular makeup to be 54% power strength and only 46% endurance. As a lifelong endurance athlete, I've been banging my head against the wall, training in a manner that was in conflict with my genes. Don't wait 20 years making mistakes like I did. Find out what diet and exercise patterns are most aligned with your genetics at dnafit.com. This stuff used to be super expensive. It was a few $100s. Now it's pennies. Not really, but it's a great deal, and you get 30% off if you just put in the code GOY30. Check out everything at dnafit.com.